everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so happy that you're with us today. Today, we have a special treat. We are republishing an episode, an interview that I was interviewed on the Revital Health Podcast with Jodi Duval. It's an Australian podcast and show. Jodi is a functional naturopath with an amazing facility in Perth, Australia, and it was an amazing time getting interviewed by her. And it was such a good time that I asked her if we could also publish it on our podcast, and they seem to like that idea. So you will be getting that today. We're going to deep dive into what we do here at Young Goose, the way that we think about formulating skincare products, what we are trying to achieve at the end of the day, how we approach skin health, and obviously a lot of things around it that pertain to the general health of our body and our mind. You will learn how to think about skincare, how to maybe build your own protocols around skincare, the differences between men and women, the differences between different types of skin types. And I'm super excited for you guys to listen to this podcast. Before we start today's podcast, it would mean the world to me and to us here at the Biohacking Beauty Podcast in Young Goose if you took 2 seconds out of your day to subscribe to the podcast. And not only that this ensures that you will never miss an episode, but it also greatly helps the growth of this podcast. And if you're listening to this through Apple Podcast or Spotify, we would also greatly appreciate it if you left a review. So that is what we ask you to do. And last but not least, I would like to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by Young Goose, the biohacking skincare brand. And what we do here in Young Goose is we aim to lower the functional age of your skin and then give the skin specific tasks that it can perform optimally when it functions like a younger skin, whether it is wrinkles, pigmentation, laxity, acne, whatever that may be. So give it a chance. You can find all our product on younggoose.com. I highly recommend taking the short quiz to figure out what system would benefit you the most. But now, without further ado, enjoy this interview.
Welcome to the show, Amitay. Thank you so much for coming on, and it's absolute pleasure to see you again after being in the USA.
Yeah, definitely. You ladies have captured our hearts off the get-go when we met. We're normally not that nice to people like off the get-go, but we felt obviously you guys are connected to it. We have mutual friends and stuff, so we really feel very close to you. So it's wonderful, talking to you and seeing you again.
And much the same, absolute ditto there. We felt like we connected straight away, and it was beautiful to meet people who are so passionate about biohacking, health, but also skincare, which I've not met anyone like you guys. So I'm really excited to chat all through the details today with you and just hear what really inspired you to become interested in this form of skincare, because it's very unique. So Amitay, we'll get started there. And just how did Young Goose come about? How did you become so focused and so passionate about skincare?
Well, that's there are two converging, plots there. The first one is in the start, like around 15 years ago, 13 years ago, I was involved in a therapeutic laser company that wanted to transition. LEDs started to become available. When I say available, they were mass produced and they could be mass produced within specific wavelengths, etc. So this company really wanted to turn to the masses and create products that are direct to consumer products, if you would. And because I have a leadership background, I was tasked with this project. I was the CEO of the company, and I was tasked with this project. And what happened was we found out that when you talk to professionals, when we were talking beforehand to, the foremost paraplegic rehab center in the United States, obviously phantom pain, for example, or neurological issues were like the number one thing. But when you talk to the general public, we found out that the number one thing that they wanted results in, or they were excited to see results in, was their skin. And it's a little bit addictive to someone like me with my background. I'm a people pleaser. I just want people to enjoy whatever I'm putting out there. So to me, it became addictive to give results that people can see with their own eyes and feel. Because as you know, in our wellness field, the challenge sometimes is having people understand the results are really something you're going to get in 20, 30 years. I think it's extremely difficult for us as human beings to understand the accumulation of micro decisions and how they affect us long term, right? We can talk about the fact that we have a new liver every 2 to 4 years, half a heart every 25 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But really, it doesn't mean, like, we can be very impressed with that stat, but then go out in 1 second, we're going to be forgetting all about it and have our next tequila shot or whatever. Not that I'm bashing tequila, but so that's number one. I got addicted to giving the people what they want, basically, and seeing great results there. The other one was, I love NAD, or NAD, some people call it NAD plus, and because I had some brain trauma, things like that, I was getting NAD IVs, infusions, if you would, since that time, around 10 years ago.
Brave man. And they can be nasty.
But I don't know how much they cost in Australia, but in the United States, a course of 5 NAD drips could cost like $4,000 US dollars. So we really tried through our lab that we have to get NAD to bypass infusions, to infuse it through the skin. But we failed, actually. The skin likes it too much. So even if the molecules are small enough to absorb, the skin would hold on to them and use them locally. So we just made lemonades out of lemons, like that youthful skin mission maybe is larger than us. It haunts us. So wherever we turn, we end up doing something for the skin. So that's kind of, as a company, I believe that in 10, 20 years, we're going to be something more holistic, if you would. But I think there's a lot to having people seeing results in their skin in general, whatever health journey you're in, that could motivate a person. And I think there's a lot there. I don't know if you know, AG1 or Athletic Greens is like a very big,
a lot of people as well in Australia. Yeah.
Great. So AG1, I just listened to the Joe Rogan podcast like today, and they're talking about it. I'm taking it, blah, blah. And this is what it does. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he mentions aging. There's nothing that helps specifically with aging, but I think there is something for people who are healthy, or in their 30s, 40s, 50s, that really, because we were talking about these micro decisions that we really cannot understand long term. We cannot understand the health of our hip and why we would need, why we're preventing a hip replacement when we're 75, when we're like 35, right? So having whatever we're doing also affect our skin, I think, is major. And that is really what anti-aging means until we're 60 years old most of the time.
Absolutely. And I think it's that, like you say, micro decisions, and then that consistency. And in my practice, I always push those non-negotiable habits every day. And they're the ones that build the healthy system. They build the healthy skin, the healthy anti-aging system, where you can't always undo what you've done, but you can always do better. And that consistency of habits across the days and months and years is much better than taking large doses of nutrients on one day and forgetting for 3 months, or never seeing in the morning, no resetting circadian rhythm, and we'll get into blue lights and all the biohacking stuff too. All their like build-ons. So they're, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think whatever doesn't tie up to your identity in the end, whatever you are, let's say you did something consistently for a year, just as a mental drill that we're doing here. If it doesn't end up being part of your identity, you'll never be able to stay consistent with it. We can talk about like alcoholism and addiction to cigarettes or to anything else really. And since the person still like years later identifies with it, either, I am a previous fill in the blank or anything like that, it's still part of their identity at some point. And that is a big part of why it's hard to kind of detach from it, and vice versa. If something's not being ingrained as part of your identity, it's extremely difficult to continue, Yeah.
So true. I actually have never heard it put that way, but it's what I talk about is the box. Take yourself out of the box. Don't put yourself in that box anymore. It no longer serves you, no longer belongs to you. So we move that out. It's all disease focused when we're in clinic. Yeah, perfect. Amazing. All right, so let's talk. Young Goose captured me. Obviously you guys are amazing, as well as people, but what you've created is just incredible. I've never seen anything like that on the market. There's biohacking skincare, so I am wanting to get it in the clinic, so everyone, because I always get asked about skincare, and the major one is obviously people are trying to clean up their lives. They're trying to get purity across all sorts of things in terms of personal care, but also wanting still the actives and the impact, because a lot of natural products don't have the impact of what the pharmaceutical cosmetics have, but you're at a loss because you're not wanting to use some of those chemical-based products, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me about, and I know you guys have so many different products on the market at the moment, and I was going through, and I just love the way your website's laid out as well. You've got the biohacks, you've got the key ingredients, you've got this. I love it. It's amazing. So talk me through what the difference of Young Goose in comparison to most of the other products on the market are.
First of all, you touched on a point that it really shows that it's part of your wellness is part of your identity, because you've touched on a point that is extremely rarely discussed. And there is really this dichotomy between wanting to get results and wanting not to harm other systems in your body because you want to get a result for one thing specifically. I mean, even if you look at things that are extremely common, like Botox, not that I'm for or against. Actually, I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest. But most people who are afraid of Botox, unless they're afraid of actual needles, it's because they don't know what it does to the rest of their body. Whether rightfully so or not, I think if they educated themselves enough, they might find out that it doesn't do anything else for the body. Again, that's not where we come in, but the battle of, if you had a Venn diagram, one of the things that I describe biohacking skincare is, and biohacking in general, by the way, is finding that synergy between something that does not tax the system, does not, is not an endocrine disruptor, or we can talk about other things that are problematic with products, and on the other hand, creates results, and that is extremely tricky. Natural products as a whole, just like if we used like a specific natural ingredient, two things can happen. One is that it doesn't work. Like our body is designed, or our skin is designed to be a buffer between us and the environment. So whatever is like really mimicking nature, like one-to-one, probably will not work. The only way it would work if it's a sensitizer. If it sensitizes the skin and then the skin wants to recover from it. The problem with that is that this is normally very, I wouldn't say dangerous, but it's very harmful for the skin. We can talk about like vitamin C, for example. If you put like 50% vitamin C on your skin, you're going to create burns that you would need to treat. It's not going to be positive, right? But on the other hand, there is also, it's a biphasic dose. There is too little and there's too much. And normally sensitizers work that way. And other than that, and the other thing is anything that is making us adapt. So imagine a gym. A gym is kind of sensitized, right? We're lifting a weight, we're micro tearing our muscles. The same weight is not going to affect us the same. And that's why in general in skincare, there's this notion of, oh, I need to replace my skincare every so often. Most of the time, people use the same product just by different brands. That's another joke we have. Oh, I can't use this vitamin C anymore. I'm going to use the other brand, which is funny. But that's number one. The other one is most medical grade skincare, or like, pharmaceutical grade skincare, is going to create results in the skin, also through sensitizing most of the time. But let's say there are different ways to go about it. But in order to have those active ingredients survive for many years, normally like a year, 2, 3, 4, between the times that they got produced until they get on your skin and then survive in your harsh bathroom environment for another, 3 to 6 months, they need to be, you really need to hire like a team of chemists to figure that out. And normally that's not being done with lilac petals and I don't know, and nice ingredients. So normally there are very harsh stabilizers there. So what we are trying to do is really find the middle ground, find ingredients and stabilizers, etc., things that are going to make it so from the moment we created it until it gets on your skin, our rule is 98% efficacy. And to do that, normally we need to create products also in a much on much smaller window between when we create them then they get to your skin, normally 3 months. What we're trying to do. But also we're trying to hire the best chemists in the world to make sure that what we do is effective. That is one view of what we're doing. The other is the end goal of what we're trying to do with our skincare, which is really different than a normal skincare brand. And I'm sure if you've listened to any skincare advertisement, you'll remember words like improving the appearance of fill in the blank, wrinkles, whatever that is, promotes, whatever, very non-committal words, right? And the reason is normally what you're trying to do is trick the viewer, the other person, to view the user as a younger person by creating some kind of, like Botox, right? Botox does not make you younger, but it makes you appear younger. That's normally what skincare is doing, and that's the end goal. They don't go more than that. What we are doing is really trying to lower the functional age of the skin. By lowering the functional age of the skin can then do more. Then we can use, I'm going to use the word sensitizers because it's a very large blanket we can talk about. But then we can use things that ask the skin to turn over, to renew itself, to treat specific things from how our DNA functions onwards. You mentioned how there is this, and we talked about it, how there is this challenge where we want to do something holistically, but we want it in the end to affect how we look and how we behave. Unfortunately, only 20% of the reason our skin looks or ages the way it does is from what we do on the inside. It's called intrinsic aging. 80% is extrinsic aging, is in Australia, I bet it's a lot of UV, but anywhere else, by the way, if you live in the United States, I'm not sure about statistics in Australia, but if you live in the United States and you live in a city, your skin's going to age more because of pollution than it is because of UV. And now we are learning that blue light, artificial light, also ages the skin. So there are many things that 80% of what we're doing is how we interact with the environment. What we are trying to do again is also have a functionally younger skin to deal with those harsh environment stressors, also deal with extrinsic aging, and at the end, we also are trying to affect the way our body functions because our skin works better. So one of the popular words you're going to hear about, in a few years, that word, but I'm talking about the audience, is senescent cells, malfunctioning cells that are let's just call them zombie cells, because that's the kind of common word to call them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So by eliminating those in the skin with a product that is called ProCare, we can actually affect how the brain functions and how the whole body functions, because they are taxing our brain and our body. So that is an end result of what we're trying to do. But first and foremost, obviously, is give people real results for their skin, results that are reflecting the functional age, the biological age of the skin, and not only the appearance of youth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that it's that 20%, 80%, because I don't think a lot of people consider that the environmental burden on our bodies and external health of our skin being an organ, in itself, and it's reactive. And when I tell people that we have light sensing clocks in our skin, they're blown away. I'm like, you can't experience like every day under lights or at nighttime at the wrong time. Your skin, very basically doesn't have time to repair. It thinks it's still midday. It's protecting itself. It doesn't go into healing. So we need to have our skin in proper healing.
Yeah. So just as, by the way, the skin is designed to turn over the most amount of cells 3 hours after you are not exposed to blue light.
Wow.
So technically speaking, if someone doesn't have the time of day to listen to a podcast, normally what I'm saying is 11 to 12.
Yeah.
That's when you really, if you want beauty sleep, that's when you want to be asleep, because you're getting the most amount of cellular turnover, whether you're asleep or not. So you want to support that process. But also, like, as we grow older, our body is prioritizing the skin more and more as a buffering organ and less as a organ that exudes vitality. It is a communicative organ when we are at reproductive age. And when we basically are past reproductive age, this is something that is going, obviously gradually, but is turning more and more into just another, basically like a body, the whole body sunblock, if you would, or environmental block. So you could affect how your skin looks, but this is mainly by communicating to the skin that you are still vital. Other than that, you are really you need to kind of trick the skin to understand that, and then to go ahead and repair itself, which is a challenge. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The internal environment. And I just love how closely your belief systems with the skin is matching the belief systems and the teachings and the clinical focus that I have from the clinic that we work from, and it's the quality of ingredients, the passion. There's no cutting down on quality because of, costing. And it's very important to know that, that the importance of product quality, and it's the same with transcriptions, and it's all I really value that perception of how we're making a difference in the world and really sticking with our guns and not actually creating a less of a product to have, a lie almost out into society about how it works. So, I want to cover lots more about other certain compounds with you, as in some and things like that, because in Australia, obviously, we have a huge sun exposure and also ironically vitamin D deficiency, which is crazy, but we are so sun. But before that, I really want to talk about some of the key ingredients that you put into your products, because that really excited me with some of the NR Noble, some of the plant compounds, and how you landed on these particular ingredients. What made you go towards these, or even how you found out about them? Like that's exciting.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and we kind of did the opposite. What we were trying to do is look at the hallmarks of aging, which this is very new science. So if it's new to someone hearing about it, I mean, the paper describing them was published in 2013. So, but we can say since like the early 2000s until today, we have gone on this journey and understood what are the core tenets of aging in every cell. And then they do change the expression of how that is, how that looks in the end differs from cell to cell. but the underlying processes are similar or are identical for that matter. So we looked at what does it mean in the skin? What does it mean mitochondrial dysfunction? What does it mean telomere shortening? What does it mean, nutrient sensing, diminished nutrient sensing, senescent cell burden, etc. What does it mean in the skin? And then we went back and said, okay, what are the most researched, what is the best way, what are the most researched molecule, but also what is the best way to affect that in the skin? And in the end, we are saying, okay, but that's all well, that's nice, cool, nice story. But now how do we have it that you can tell that this is working, which is another challenge.
Absolutely.
So as far as those ingredients, we started with as I said, with NAD, which the patent's called NR Noble, which means NAD is a huge molecule, and not only that, it's a very big molecule, so it's bigger than the pore. We can't really absorb it. If you remember, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people were talking about collagen, and every cream had collagen. And it's funny, some creams still come out. I think some companies hope that people forgot, so it's actually coming back. But that is another molecule that just doesn't absorb. Another thing that is similar between NAD and collagen, even if it did absorb, there are no highways between where it's going to absorb to and into where to where it is needed. So let's concentrate on NAD. NAD really needs connexins. It needs these pathways that usher it into the cell. Outside of the cell, it's nothing. It's like you pay for gas and then you spray it on your car. It's not going to do much, right? You need it in the engine. And what we did is we used the building blocks, the things that do have these direct pathways between wherever it is getting absorbed in the skin until they get into the cell, and then the cell itself builds it back into NAD. And that's the way your body and my body uses NAD. The end product are those building blocks, and then it kind of collects them like someone who would collect shopping carts after people are finished with them in the parking lot, and then you put it back in line, and then people use them again. So so that is what we're doing with NAD. We're also making these precursors, these building blocks that are called NR, NMN, NA, and tryptophan. We nanosize them and we lyophilize them. We wrap them in a gift wrap that is made out of lipids, and that makes them much more stable, as we said before. And then they get back into the cell, etc. The problem was that what we noticed is, as I said before, is that the skin has no idea that this is something that a wrinkle, for that matter, is something that is wrong with the skin. Wrinkle doesn't have any inflammation attached to it. Hyperpigmentation, for the most part, doesn't have any inflammation attached to it. So the body doesn't know it's something that it needs to heal or to treat. That is when you use, let's say, our bioretinol, which mimics how retinol is used in the body, etc., to stimulate renewal in the skin. But because within the NAD product, we were trying to have like this kitchen sink approach to everything that's aging related as far as fuel in the skin. We also used, I'm sure you are familiar with resveratrol. I'm sure many of the viewers are familiar with resveratrol. So resveratrol is actually toxic for the skin.
Really?
The skin doesn't have the enzyme. So resveratrol, remember we talked about sensitizers, resveratrol, and by the way, turmeric as well. They are what we are getting the benefits from are the defense mechanisms of grapes, for that matter, or turmeric, where the curcumin, which is the active compound there that is benefiting us, is the defense mechanism of the plant. So if we talk about resveratrol, that's an antifungal, and it's also expressed when grapes are being exposed to a lot of UV. And if anyone has ever heard or listened or read David Sinclair's book, he explains very well that we did not evolve to understand when there's like extreme high UV in the environment, as we know from living in Australia. But we have evolved to sense different compounds being expressed in plants and fortify ourselves. Going back to resveratrol in our skin, this sensitizer, this thing that is expressed by the plant is actually kind of stressing our system, is being eliminated quite quickly in our gut. That's why we need to take it with fats or things like that. In our skin, the thing that eliminates it does not exist. So it's going to stay there and going to cause harm eventually. So if anyone has like a resveratrol serum in their house, they can flip the bottle and they'll see that it's one of the last ingredients in the ingredient list. It means there's a very small amount, because it's mainly to say that if it would have done anything, it would have been a problem. So what we're doing is we are fermenting resveratrol, and we're basically making up for that inability to break down resveratrol in the fermentation process. And it makes resveratrol 50 times more bioavailable, non-toxic, and something that your skin can use. So that's just one example, but we have many peptides, CoQ10, PQQ, a special type of vitamin C, turmeric, in this one product that is called Care, which is like our kitchen sink. It's a moisturizer, but it's like, that's what we believe everyone should be using. We also have one specific for the eyes. It's called Eye Care. Not very original, but it's called Eye Care. And these two are like our foundation. They're not cheap, but they're not that expensive. We believe most people will be able to afford them. And that's really your how you start the journey. After that, you can use, we have like 12 products. So you can use different serums or a mask that we use that's called hyperbaric mask, which is our number one seller here in America.
Lucky enough to try.
Yeah, it's really cool. It mimics the benefits to the skin you're getting when you're going in a hyperbaric chamber. So we have all these other products that are piggybacking on that ability of the skin to perform tasks way, 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 way better due to Care and Eye Care, which actually we can have the skin perform like a 20 years younger skin. Yeah.
It's impressive. God. So, with this, obviously, we're mentioning on the price tag as well, because I guess a lot of clients would come up and say to me, why are things so expensive? Even with healthcare, you pay for what you get. So, and I feel that the quality of what you input is also the quality of what you output, because you actually value it more. So there's that point of view I find with that, but also knowing why and the education around why and the belief in these products and knowing how they work. So I just want to touch quickly on, you mentioned about results. So, give, I guess, the listeners an example of what you're looking for in your results. Obviously, it's very different person to person. There's personalized medicine, skincare. So we're obviously looking at different conditions for each different person. But what are we expecting from Young Goose? What do you normally tell people?
So one of the things that we've been noticing for a decade now, since we started researching this almost a decade ago until today, one of the first things is increased what we call luminosity, which is not oiliness. Okay, it's skin autoluminosity is something that is now being gauged as a tell for skin biological age. So how radiant you are, how glowing your skin is a big part of a healthy and young looking skin. Other than that, again, if we create a good system, if we follow a system that is right for us, and people can go to our website and create a quiz and go over a quiz, but it's pretty simple. If you're interested more in pigmentation or wrinkles or laxity or puffiness around the eyes or acne, these are things that you can do specific steps or go through specific steps to make sure that we are changing them, or hydration. We are changing them on a much more fundamental level.
Absolutely. Okay. So just give me 1 second. Sorry, I just need to and I'll pull this out, but I've just realized that my Zoom plan had run out. So I'm just upscrolling.
No worries.
Cut off. There we go. It's
Cool.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get hung up on you, but I don't want that. I'm back into it now. Multitask there for a little bit. So I want to come back to the products now. And I know, I just wanted to touch with that in terms of, results. And I will also, after this, because I want to get some of the clinic products in clinic, and I want to test, be a self-tester, which I always have to be before I do lots of different things to clients. I'll be getting a whole routine together for myself, particularly. Cool. But I want to also touch on things like peptides, because we haven't actually touched peptides just yet. Give me a rundown. So I've dabbled a little bit in copper, some of the copper peptides, but more internal. So that would be, not supplementing the skin with that. Give me your perspective on peptides.
Okay, I apologize. We use peptides. Okay, let me start with that. But I apologize for anyone who's spent their money looking or spend their money on products that promote peptides specifically, by what I'm going to say right now. So the fact that you've experimented or you have some experience with copper peptides when they are injected is the way to go. Okay. In general, peptides work much, much better ingested depends on the peptide, but ingested or injected. In the skin, they are tricky to use, tricky to stabilize, and they also are not naturally occurring in nature in a way where the skin would know it needs to absorb them. So you really need to use them, and we use them as a tertiary strategy. And that means that we are using other molecules that call on the use of those peptides, if you would, or we're using so the peptides that we're going to use and we're going to use successfully are peptides that improve how collagen is created in the body or in the skin. We can talk about a specific peptide that is going to become very popular. The patent is called Tego Pep Up 4. And that is actually not a copper peptide, but what it does do, it increases the expression of the collagen genes that kind of turn off or turn down a little bit with age as we grow older. And that means that the collagen that we do create is not ideal, okay? Because collagen actually, there are 8 different genes that are in charge of collagen production, and there are more genes that are in charge of how collagen is being utilized. So what we are trying to do with peptides, with other compounds, is to improve it's an equalizer of music, right? We're trying to improve how epigenetic expression or how genetics is being expressed, which is called epigenetics, which would lead to much positive results. But as you can infer from what I was saying, we also need to ask the skin to create collagen, and that we do through some marine compounds that we use, or bioretinol, or vitamin C. So you kind of need to have it as a support. Copper peptides specifically in the skin, we use only in our eye care product. Why is that? Is because, well, we actually use it in a different model, which is our professional model. We have a peel that's unique because it has this copper peptide, but we can understand that if this copper peptide improves how your skin is rebuilding itself, it would be positive when we have broken down some of that skin, right? Around our eyes, what is going on is that this is a very thin skin, and it is always, so I don't know if I'm sure people listening to you would know what glycation is, but in case people don't, glycation is when we're consuming sugar, and these sugar molecules, and I'm really oversimplifying, kind of travel and attach themselves to protein. And by the way, in our skin, guess what protein is very prevalent? Collagen. So they're making our skin not only thinner, but also more rigid. They're disrupting the function of the skin. What we are trying to do in eye care as a whole is thicken the skin and have the skin more pliable, which is the opposite of thin skin, which caves and creates puffiness, or the opposite of puffiness for some people. And when the skin is more rigid, guess what? It's not only that it doesn't bounce back immediately when we smile, it also creates more wrinkles because it is like a drier rubber, you know? So it is getting cracked more. So we're trying to negate that. And we have a proprietary peptide complex that is that kind of delicate dance between asking for repair, supporting repair, and fueling repair with our NAD precursors. But alone, peptides are much better injected. And yeah, so I mean, it really depends. If we have like active scarring, which we are looking into, we're looking into peptides that are really help with open wounds and scarring and things like that. But not necessarily just having a wrinkle, applying a peptide on it, and it's going to work like magic. There is one exception. And that is something that is called neuropeptides or neural peptides, which are peptides that are a little bit like Botox, a little bit. I'm talking about like 10%. And what these are going to do, they're going to give you short-term results, which is cool. You're applying it on. They also accumulate. So within 6 to 8 weeks, it's like we applied like 10 to 20%, or we accumulated 10 to 20% of what Botox is. But that's not what we have them there. We have them there because we don't want this. It creates a pretty interesting thing where the skin does not contract in the same place twice. What happens normally, if you think of how you would cut a paper without scissors, you're going to kind of fold it and you're going to play with that paper, and then you're going to rip it, and it's going to rip in a very even fashion. And the reason is because the groove is already there. It's the easiest point to release pressure. And our skin does the same. So we smile once when we're young, we're smiling as we grow older. These lines are just becoming folds that release pressure in the same place over and over and over again. And by limiting the contraction of the muscle a little bit, we are actually kind of randomizing that signal. So sometimes this muscle can contract here, sometimes it can contract there, and we are basically not letting the skin to accumulate contraction in the same place over and over and over again. So that's one example where we'd be using heptapeptides, peptides that are neuromodulators or neural peptides.
Fascinating. I'm so glad I asked the question. I love, Amitay, how you talk about the skin as this it is, and this beautiful live organ that you're using art and science to really work with rather than against. And I just love the way that you explain it as it moves through. Captivating. So yeah.
Thanks.
The respect you have for the skin and the way that you're working with it is incredible.
Yeah, I think, look, I'm as our first conversation when we talked, I was like, oh, I have, I know these people in Australia because they do jujitsu. So I'm obsessed with jujitsu, which is a martial art, and that's a big part of my life. And a lot of my health decisions are driven towards what is going to help me perform better on, when I do my sport. And there's a lot there. I think it's very complicated. Part ego that you're harnessing to something hopefully positive. Part understanding that this is where I am encountering whether aging or good results more, and that's like a litmus test to whatever I'm doing. I think it's really, really like so psychologically complicated why I'm placing so much of my health journey on that one focal point, right? But one of the things that it taught me is that we are all different, and we can have that focal point to help us to make decisions and to motivate us. So we do make healthy decisions, but we have one point that we can refer back to and say, oh, I can see changes in fill in the blank. I want to continue doing whatever I'm doing in order to get those changes. And that is, for a lot of people, that is the skin. And this is as vain as my jujitsu or someone else's brain function, because they are whatever, they don't, I don't know, they don't want to sleep more than 6 hours, but they want to perform like someone who slept 9. And another person is going to be I don't know, something else, right? It's going to be their six pack. We're all different, but the underlying mechanisms that we're going to be engaging in, that we're going to be communicating with, they're the same.
Yeah.
So that is why
aren't they? They're really the motivators towards the end goal, but also
yeah,
pushing you towards where you want to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I have so much respect for the skin, because it's just a way to motivate us to get to affect everything else in our lives. Obviously, everything can be too much. We can make wrong decisions if we zero in on only the wrinkle here. If we're like, instead of like skin health, we're going to be torturing ourselves and loving ourselves less because we have some wrinkle here. Or we meet people, believe me, that you can see that they've gone over the edge. They're like, yeah, but look, when I do this here, this comes out, and there we can get into the weeds here, but eventually we can improve someone's skin. It means, as I said, when we grow older, it really does mean that their entire body is probably working better, because it's not the first organ that the body prioritizes. So it's a good litmus test.
Absolutely. And, we're not going to jump into sort of skin issues, but I get a lot of skin problems coming to me in clinic. And it's one of the major factors that people are like, I know it's not everything, but, if only I could have just a little bit better skin, it would make me feel so much better about myself. And they really... from the perspective of like, I don't want to have perfect skin, but it really is impacting me on a daily basis when I wake up and look at myself in the mirror. And I really feel for them, because it's, definitely something that can motivate you more. So I feel that work you're doing is really creating better people, because they're feeling more confident in themselves on the outside and knowing and believing then in a product that they can actually use.
Well, there's something that I feel, proud of way more than heptapeptides or NAD, and that is resolving skin trauma, or trauma that is held in the skin. And that is something I never speak of, because I think it's I think we're not there yet. I'm not talking about us as a company. I think us as a world. I think trauma is we only are starting to talk about trauma, and there's so much there that I would like someone to do before they try to resolve trauma that is held in their skin. Whether it is fascial work, whether it is going and resolving some traumas that are held in their brain, for that matter, in their memories. But every product we make, we are trying to incorporate ingredients there that are addressing trauma that is held in the skin.
Wow.
And that is something we never really go into, because we feel that it would create a completely different conversation, right? We're going from, like a wrinkle on the forehead to something that we have held for 20 years. These two don't really connect that well. But I believe that there is so much more to skin care skin care is more akin to self-care than it is to beauty process, in my eyes. If you are taking that time, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever that is, to take time for yourself and kind of maybe do affirmations together with it, some kind of meditation or mindfulness while you're doing the process. The first thing you mentioned today was that's going to improve, like our thoughts are going to improve the results of what we're doing. And I couldn't agree more. There's a reason that placebo is 30% of every cure. And if you can harness the power of your mind to improve your skin, there's so much there, whether it is the fact that trauma inhibits some lymphatic drainage. Trauma makes us obviously contract our skin more. It is also being held in the skin and in our fascia. So it literally creates inflammation, creates movement that is not natural and is repetitive. And you can see people like Gordon Ramsay, or no offense, Gordon, or other people that are dealing with a lot of high emotions. You can see some places in their skin that you're asking yourself, how's a wrinkle even there? Like, you'll see a lot of people that have wrinkles here, that's called the marionette lines. And these are mainly due to withheld emotions. So there's, I think, a journey that someone can do within skincare that is an opportunity, or within, self-care, that's an opportunity that it can actually take you to a much better place emotionally. Not only loving yourself more because you look better, but rewarding yourself for taking better care of yourself. When you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing some change, it should be a sign that you've just a pat on the back, because you've been taking care of yourself for a month, for a year, whatever that is. And that should, encourage you to go forward. But it shouldn't be separate from your self-care, in my eyes, in my opinion.
Wow, I didn't think we were going to land here, but I am so glad we. I have not heard it put that way before. I see patterns in skin a lot with different forms of trauma. Seeing multiple clients over the years, obviously you form patterning across clients and same symptoms, and then I see certain things within the body as well, and presentations, illnesses and diseases in certain areas according to traumas and emotions that people experienced. And it's fascinating to watch those same things appear in the same area. And the same, like you're just saying that, and I'm thinking of multiple, but I've never actually put that together before and thought about that in those specific areas. The body keeps a score, the fascial keeps a score. It's something that we need to learn to release. We work with so many different forms of release, therapies and form of clearing, but we actually don't work specifically. Well, I don't know of anyone working specifically with the skin. So yeah, you're right. There's a lot more to come.
Yeah, I agree. Not that I'm saying, some people have this notion of, and I'm respectful of that. And not just lip service, but some people are saying, I've earned whatever that is, the wrinkle or whatever that is. Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, but how about earning less of that? It can be, you might have earned whatever that is. You should be proud of whatever you've done until now. First of all, you've survived. Whoever you are, whatever age you are, you've won the genetic lottery and the historic lottery. You're doing way better than 99.9% of people throughout history. So you're already a winner. Okay. Having said that, how about earning a change? How about earning a positive renewal or change in your life? I think having that benchmark and seeing improvement from then on, but making sure you're tying it together with other types of work and improvement is the future of skincare, for that matter. We are trying to do it a lot. I know. So you said, I've never, a couple of times you said, I've never thought about something that I said in a certain way. That is the kind of the wrong way. So obviously I'm a head of a skincare company. That is the worst thing that a business can do in skincare. There is a reason I mentioned turmeric like 700 times in a podcast. And the reason is because, if the largest player in the skincare market in the world just came out a year ago or 2 years ago with their new line, and you'd think, wow, that's when the US comes out with a new fighter jet, it's supposed to be the best in the world, right? So we'd expect it to be amazing. No, but it's based on turmeric. Why is that? Why? It's not because turmeric, first of all, is not the end all be all. We use it. It's great, but it's not the best product that you should center your skincare line around. So why are they doing it? The reason they're doing is because maybe you and I have known turmeric for 30 years and Ayurveda have known turmeric for 3,000 years, but a person in, no offense to any place in the globe, let's just choose like Central America, where people are, we have some locations there. So when we travel there, you see people, you see a healthy spot has, sugar cane juice and white bread as their healthy food. So sometimes it's only about like being privy to specific knowledge, right? So they need to make sure, this company needs to make sure everyone is educated in what they're saying. If I'm going to try to have a clickbait, and the clickbait is going to be in a language no one understands, guess what? No one's going to press on that link, even if I say the most outrageous thing in the world, right? So that is us as a skincare company. We're actually doing the worst thing possible, and that is the bleeding edge. It means if we're doing things correctly, 99% of people wouldn't know what we're talking about. So so there are many, 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 many things that we would love to get into, but it is extremely difficult to yeah. And I'm sure you feel the same.
Absolutely. You have to push on the brakes more often than accelerate, because you have to wait for everyone else to be catching up with the lingo, with the technology, with the, Perth, I feel, is the biggest break that I have to have my foot on all the time, because it is a little bit slower than the rest of the world, I feel, in the stuff that we are looking at, these biohacking areas.
Well, first of all, you guys speak English, which is a gift, because I come from Israel originally. We work with the only Israeli biohacking center, and what they need to deal with as far as education. Imagine that anything that you wanted your clients to know, you had to translate yourself, and you had to be the the not only the translator but the copywriter, right? Like a lot of things do not translate well. Imagine living in, I don't know where, okay, I don't know, but somewhere that zombies are not a thing. Now try to explain zombie cells, right? So
Context has to
so
be.
and obviously one of the things that, so when we went into, like, I'll give you a small story. So when we researched our senescent soap ProCare, which is one of the things we're most proud of, which we're mimicking the effects of rapamycin and metformin, which are two drugs that are being used in longevity, in anti-aging, but are not originally from that field. So a lot of people are going to know about them because they serve other purposes. But we then needed, as I said, everything starts with this big viewpoint of, okay, we want to eliminate senescent cells. We want to mimic rapamycin and metformin in the skin. But then we need to say, okay, but what does it give the person? What's going on there? Can we show before and afters? Can we whatever? So obviously we show before and afters when we publish the research, but what we're also doing is we are measuring something in the skin that is being improved. And one of the things that is improved is the skin's aging clock protein, which is called progerin. And I really, there's a movie with Robin Williams that he gets really old really fast. And that is my example. That's progeria. That's a disease. If you are accumulating it too fast, in reality, these people do not grow as tall as Robin Williams did in the movie when they're 10 years old. They are kids with an aging face. In the movie, they needed to have, there was no special effects when they made that movie. So Robin Williams is this older guy that's supposed to be like 10 or 11. But that is my example. Imagine I didn't have that example. I would never be able to explain what progerin is and what happens if you accumulate too much of it, right? So I think even though Perth might be like a little bit behind, you have English, which is already a huge plus, or French or Spanish. I think these three obviously are the main languages that information travels within. Maybe Portuguese a little bit, I don't know, Chinese probably, but we really are lucky that we are in this free-flowing environment of information environment, that we can at least have some common references that we can use. So we're one step ahead of anyone that's completely in the dark.
No, I agree. And then focusing on that, I think, is really, really good.
Yeah.
Amitay, before we run out of time, I've got lots of more things to say. But
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to touch on, so we've gone through, obviously, key ingredients and where you've landed there, mechanisms of delivery and why we're using, obviously, the skin and looking after the skin in the way that you do. So we've talked about a little bit more about expected results and, you know, all sorts of things there. And then also I want to touch on quickly the harm of skincare and negative ingredients, and sunscreens will fall under that banner. And then I want to get a bit more of a practical application for people listening and clients, where they might look like starting with Young Goose and what that sort of mean, and what's the other biohacking sort of side of things that we can add on to that. So let's start with that sort of toxicity of the skincare.
Okay. First, let me just say that most things, because we're, you know, biohackers or whatever that is, we are aware that things at some concentrations are good and in other concentrations are bad. Okay, so that's the most important thing. If I said a specific ingredient, we can talk about even like fat, like we can talk about any ingredient. There are areas that it might be positive and then others that it might be negative. That's number one. But within that, chemical sunscreens, really, there's no positive. There's like, that's actually something pretty interesting. So one of the things that we need to be aware of when we talk about skincare is temperature change. Because if you remember, like the thing that happened in America, that people started to basically fall dead because of electronic cigarettes, is because of vitamin E. And you think, you know, vitamin E, why is it so bad? But it's not vitamin E that they were inhaling, because its composition changed through thermal energy, through heat. So chemical sunscreens, the problem with chemical sunscreen is that they absorb light and convert it into thermal energy. And that means that everything else that you have in your on your skin, in your skin, and within that sunscreen is then being chemically altered. But not only that, we are also, sun in general is a detoxifier. It makes us release toxins. When that layer of chemical sunscreen sits on your skin, it does not allow toxins to be released from your skin. So you're accumulating them at a higher level in a thinner area of the skin. They're not being, you know, dispersed as much as they were before. And that is actually very negative. I'm not going to mention, you know, harsh things that can happen from it in order not to scare people off. I'm just saying, don't use chemical sunscreen if you can avoid it. And that is kind of about that. Another thing that happens in the US, I assume it also happens in Australia, is mineral sunscreens, which they are actually not doing that. They're like small mirrors. They reflect it. That's why the problem with them, that they can leave like a white cast. But there are ways to avoid it. The problem with these guys is that, well, not with them, but if you look at a mineral sunscreen, I'd really recommend looking at the back and making sure that the only active ingredient that there is zinc oxide, not nano zinc oxide. Everything else seems to have negative effects, like titanium dioxide, things like that. But aside from that, the reason I'm saying it is because in America, you're going to have something saying mineral sunscreen, and only like 3% is going to be mineral and the rest is going to be chemical. But because they have some mineral in it, they say mineral sunscreen. Fortunately, since mineral sunscreen is registered as a drug, or I'm sorry, sunscreens in general are registered as a drug in the United States, at least I'm sure in Australia as well, the active ingredients have to be stated and their percentage has to be stated. So you can just flip the bottle or the package and make sure that the only active ingredient is zinc oxide. And the ratio is about times 3. So let's say 17% is like SPF 40 for that matter. Bear that in mind. Okay. Another thing, if we talk about sunscreen specifically, and that's actually from Australia, that data, antioxidants are increasing the effects of the sunscreen. So that's why higher end sunscreens are going to have antioxidants together with sunscreens. And because we like peptides, I'm going to share with you that what we did was we also use a peptide that helps deal with EMF and blue light. Because we believe, again, as I said, we need to protect. We need to be like 360 degrees protected, right? So we use a peptide called ectoin, which is really cool. Have you ever heard about extremophiles? They are these little microorganisms that they're saying that can survive on an asteroid and stuff like that. And they look like little teddy bears. And they have a peptide in their cell membrane that keeps repairing it. And we can actually harness this peptide and use it in our sunscreen to also help deal with EMF, blue light, and other things that are actually harming our cellular membrane. So that's really cool. That's about sunscreens. But other harmful ingredients, really, I would say, well, I'd say something else, because harmful ingredients are very easy to Google. Most of the time, there's a lot of fear mongering and misinformation. But what I would say is about quality of ingredients. Okay. There another thing that came from Australia. I don't know if you know that a guy won in a lawsuit against McDonald's, and what McDonald's had to admit, that's in Australia actually, as if I remember correctly. McDonald's had to admit that the meat that they were using was not supposed to be used for human. It's not edible for humans. So what they did, they were chemically processing it to basically eliminate things there. It was rotten, so they eliminated the rot with chemicals. Why am I saying it? Is because meat is not meat, and I'm sure everyone listening here knows that, right? It's not the same thing if you buy rotten meat and chemically treat it than if you buy like pristine, grass-fed, organic. They massaged the cow and I don't know, put binaural beats on it every day. I don't know, but that yields a completely different type of meat, right? And in our chemical ingredients, that pretty much works the same. Where you get it, how long was it left on the shelf before it became a product? You know, if I buy something towards the end of its expiration date, I buy it for less money. And that kind of connects to what you're saying about, you know, quality of ingredients, stuff like that. So not that I'm saying that the higher the price, the better, blah, blah, whatever. But there is a reason like one hyaluronic acid is going to cost like $6 a vial and another one $160. Okay. So bear that in. Go ahead.
That was not questions. Hyaluronic acid is a big topic of a lot of people.
Right. So hyaluronic acid in general is also like so in our adaptogenic HA firming boost, we do have hyaluronic acid, but we believe in like a 3D type of hydration where hyaluronic acid hydrates more the top layer of the skin, which isn't negative, by the way. That I think a lot of people think it's negative because it doesn't provide the results that it is touted to provide. But we use an adaptogenic mushroom and another patent, which is called Aquacell, which is, do you know Cindy Crawford? She had a skincare line that was based on lemon rind. And the reason is because they kind of wanted to copy that patent. So that patent basically is mainly melon rind. I'm sorry. And what it does, it also increases hydration. But that snow mushroom, Aquacell, and hyaluronic acid really hydrates the entire organ, the entire skin. And that is much more important than just having something that feels more hydrated. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, is that they put something that maybe it feels more hydrated. But the problem is, you can test it. You can just not use anything for a day, 2, 3, 4, and see if your skin still is hydrated. Did we change something fundamental, or was it more the feeling of hydration? And then we're getting back to what we said in the beginning. Normal skincare gives you the experience that you want, but does not create fundamental change. So what we're trying to do, whether it's hydration, wrinkles, acne, pigmentation, whatever that is to create fundamental change, which has carry over. It's like when you cook your steak, you take it off and it keeps cooking for like 5 minutes. We want carry over when we use products. So just as an example, the HA Firming Boost has a 4-day carryover. And most of our other products also have carryover. It doesn't mean that you can use them for a while, not use them ever again, but it does mean that you accumulate real results.
Yeah, beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm excited to try that one too. You're gonna get a big order from me after this.
That's the
um,
problem when talking to me.
oh, I know. I just get so excited. I'm already excited about skincare and treatments and all sorts a better way. So I love this topic. So let's talk about the practical applications of your range and give me an idea of a routine that you commonly recommend people to use to get their best. You know, a lot of people want to know, what can I do minimally? What can I do to complete, like, let's go optimize, the full optimize versus the basic start.
Okay, so we do have that. So if someone did if someone, you know, doesn't want to listen to me anymore, because I'm going to say some cool things, I believe, right now. But if someone doesn't want to listen to me anymore, they can go get a 4 or 5 question quiz on our website, and they'll get that. They'll get a minimal, like 2 product, you know, series, or up to like 5, 7 product series, if that is what they want. But I'm gonna say something. So as I said, we have care and eye care, which are our really most fundamental thing that you can imagine. You can think of them more as longevity product rather than, unless you have something fundamentally malfunctioning in the skin, you will not see crazy results. You are going to see them if your skin is struggling. Other than that, we only have one cleanser, one, you could call it a toner. It's not really a toner. It's more of a hydrator than a toner, but it does balance pH levels. And that's something I'm going to get into in a second. But then really what you're going to do is you're going to create that equalization or play with your routine. Routine is going to change from one person to the next with the serums that we use. And they are the ones that give these different homeworks, or that's if you choose to have a master or bachelor's in science or philosophy or whatever. You still need to speak English and to know how to read, but then the material is changing. Your homework is changing, right? So these are the serums. And then you can boost everything up with our hyperbaric mask. But I'm going to start with so our cleanser enhances longevity processes. So it eliminates the thing that breaks down NAD in the skin. It's called CD38. And we do it with apigenin, which is a chamomile extract that is rich in that material. Apigenin is not what makes you sleepy in chamomile, but it also is a telomere support ingredient, and it also eliminates that thing that breaks down NAD, which is the molecule of life, the fuel of our cells, and that lowers with age, and that is a big part of aging. So that's number one. That's what we have, only one. It fits everyone. If you need, something else, go ahead and use it. Why would we need to tone the skin? So everyone, I think if you're using a toner, you don't even know, or I'm not talking about you specifically, but most people don't know why they use a toner. So our products can only function within a certain range of pH levels. And if your skin's pH is not optimal, products are not going to work. So I know I keep going back to vitamin C because that's what I believe people know, but vitamin C can lose half of its potency, 70% of its potency, if your skin acid mantle, if your pH level in the skin is not optimal. So a toner would, I'm not going to say force, but it would usher your skin to a more correct pH level. After that, when we use, so our toner is called Bio-C peptide spray, which is a spray with a bunch of peptides and things that are going to help other things absorb better into the skin. And when we started, it wasn't actually a toner. Do you know Avion, the thermal water spray? It always made us laugh that people are using, the aerosolized water, they put it on their skin and they pay like $10-20 for it. So we said, okay, let's make that with benefits. So that's how it started, but it's very easy to balance pH in the skin. So that is part of what it does, but it also supports the skin microbiome, which is very important. So then we get into the nitty-gritty of the cleanser, of the serums. So if someone is focused on aging, which is laxity, wrinkles, but also resolving the biological age of the skin, Row Care would be the most important serum because what it does, it really, in the end, it is a senolytic. It does eliminate senescent cells, blah, blah, it mimics this, mimics that. But what it really does, it is like a genetic reboot. It increases the function of 14 different genes that lower with age, whether it's collagen genes, elastin genes, hyaluronic acid genes, LUM, which is one of those genes that is very important because it's how your skin uses all of those molecules, etc. And we published a study and it's really cool, actually. And another one would be our bioretinol, because retinol, what we're starting to learn, it is also a longevity molecule, but in general, it is a stimulant for cellular turnover, for repair. The challenges with retinol is that it could be too weak, but it can also be too strong and damage your skin protective layer, your skin barrier. So what we do for retinol is that we mimic how your body uses retinol. So we match it with so it's pretty strong. It's 0.5% all trans retinol, but it's matched with biomimetic lipids, which are lipids that mimic how your skin creates its skin barrier. So we repair the skin barrier, what is getting damaged while the retinol is working. So that's something that we do. And so this is kind of, if you're interested in aging as a whole. If hydration is your issue, we mentioned the hyperbaric, the adaptogenic HA firming boost, but we just came out also. But there's also another product, which is really for, we all know about leaky gut, right? But most people don't know that you're going to start hearing about leaky skin in the next few years. So our skin barrier can become leaky, and that means that more stuff is coming in. It could cause like irritation, redness, flakiness, things like that. But it can also have you lose more water. It's called TWEL, TEWL, transepidermal water loss. It happens at night mostly, but also during the day. I'm not talking about sweating. It's like evaporation. And by repairing our skin barrier, we're going to get more hydrated. But this is like an all-encompassing product if we need to repair skin barrier. And that's pretty easy. If you spray our Bio-C peptide spray and your skin tingles, that's a good idea, that good indicator that you have skin barrier issues and that you should correct that first. Moving on, but it is also using, have you heard about C60?
I think, yes, I have. Yeah.
C60 is like the world's strongest antioxidant by far, and we are using a type or a sister molecule to that is skin specific. It's called lipochromin 6, and so it's like 20 times stronger than vitamin C, 11 times stronger than idebenone, which is like supposed to be the strongest one. So that is there too. So we're doing we're rebuilding the skin barrier, but we're like biohacking it. We're superhuman skin barrier. But that's as far as like hydration. So we apply those serums if we want hydration. Then if we want to treat pigmentation, then we can also use the skin barrier one, because that's also important for that not to have more and more pigmentation. But the bioretinol is going to be our most important one. And if we are talking about acne, we have this really cool serum that we actually made in the beginning to improve red light therapy, because we isolate EGCG, which is the antioxidant in green tea. But because it is a full spectrum compound, it has other ingredients from green tea. It is also antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. So this is what you're seeing when you're seeing acne is not acne. Acne is a slang word, right? But what we are seeing is the inflammation caused by P. acne bacteria, or by P. acne bacteria clogging our pores, and that causes inflammation. So we're resolving the apparent signs of acne, and then if we're using bioretinol, unclogging the pores and stuff like that, that could cover acne as a whole. Again, we finished with the serums. Great. One moisturizer for all, one eye cream for all. And if we want to boost anything, we apply our hyperbaric oxygen therapy mask overnight. That also increases hydration dramatically. So you're asking, some people are going to ask, oh, but I've heard that there is like a day cream and a night cream, stuff like that. So if you applied our hyperbaric mask after our moisturizer, that's, I mean, you're not going to need more hydration. So that's the entire line. The entire line is basically like the same for everyone. And the serums are going to be where you're changing anything. We do have products that are more complicated, that are sold through people such as yourself, that kind of you need to know. There are not many, but you really need to know who they fit. Really, like if we need a specific gene to function better or things like that. But they are, we believe, are very expensive to make for us. By the way, we make them more as a service to the public, and we make sure that they are used in the right hands. Yeah.
Beautiful. Wow. And I must also say, because we will probably be getting it in the clinic too, is your sunscreen.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So that's again, that what we tried to do there is say what we are doing is that's why it's called a bio shield. It is a shield from the stressors that cause extrinsic aging. And that is, if you are, even if you live, in Australia, under where the sun you're eating sun for breakfast. Okay. If you're in an office, if you are driving through a city, whatever you are doing, if you're next to Wi-Fi, flying, whatever that is, you are getting bombarded with other types of energy that our body has no idea what to do with. At least, so if we talk about pollution, why is pollution so harmful? Because pollution has free radicals that are not oxygen based. So we all know about oxidative stress, right? But there are free radicals that are not oxygen based. They are carbon based. They are nitrogen based. So these are something that our body has no idea how to, it doesn't have, our body's natural antioxidants do not do anything to these, and these linger around and wreak havoc. So we have to have something that treats them. So we have lipochromin 6, this antioxidant that's not only an antioxidant, it also is the only one that dispels these types of free radicals as well. So it's the only one that has that triple action. So I call it a broadband antioxidant or anti free radical, if you would. But also this peptides that helps your cells rebuild themselves after exposure to EMF or to blue light. So we really try to cover everything that your skin can experience as outside damage and try to mitigate it. And last but not least, it took us 4 years to develop. Just to give you an idea, we believe that we have solved the problem with zinc oxide. It does not leave a white cast. Anyone with any skin color can use it without having a white cast. And that's not because we nanosize the ingredients, because that makes it really less effective. It's because we blend it with iron oxides, which has this pinkish tint, and they blend to any skin color, black, white, I don't know, Irish, whatever that is.
I tried it at the conference in Vegas, and it's beautiful and it feels so lovely on the skin, like all your products do. I was blown away by the actual the I can't say sensual, but the actual dexterity of everything that you're feeling on your skin with the products. They blend beautifully. So
yeah, I mean, isn't it part of that placebo we talked about before? Like, we can't make a shitty user experience and hope that people are going to enjoy and feel love to themselves, to the products when they use it. So we believe everything should kind of go together.
Absolutely. And skincare is no different than service. It's a service how you yourself to people. It's also your product is showing that as well. So I absolutely love that. I think
actually today, sorry to cut you. Today we ate at one of the best restaurants in Florida. I mean, it's amazing. If anyone is ever in South Florida, it's called Pinch Kitchen. they're incredible, but our waiter was not good. And when we said, hey, the coffee is burnt, we could hear her all the way from the kitchen. Burnt, burnt. I don't know what burnt means. Burnt. And I'm telling you, like, the whole experience of this amazing restaurant went south for us. So I agree with you. It's there's so much there that needs to happen for you to have the best experience, right?
Absolutely. So many moving. Absolutely. Now, Amitay, I'm going to put something to you because I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I feel
right.
We might do in a few months, depends on how long you think it might be a good idea for follow-up. I will take on board a routine and then come back and maybe do another podcast with you and then talk more, which I wanted to get into a little bit, about biohacking add-ons and addition, and then internal skin support or internal skin health that we can then talk about. So I think that might be a nice part 2, possibly. Then have a little.
Definitely.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. If and kind of last thing, I think everyone should notice that there is a limit to how many skincare products a company can sell you, right? Even if you're a person that is willing to use 15 products every day, there is a limit. So what you're starting to see skincare companies doing now is creating supplements together with their products. And we actually have tens and hundreds of people emailing us, hey, when are you guys making a skin supplement? Because they listen to us talk or whatever that is, and they think we're going to do a good job. And in one of the things that I say is that we're going to be lying to you if we said we made the best one. That's not our expertise. Okay. There are people who are legit wizards in, one of the people I look up to is Karan Kirshan, which is the person behind Microbiome Labs, which is a legit wizard.
He's amazing.
So he is incredible. So why would I? And he has, by the way, a skin probiotic, which is amazing. So I prefer recommending the best modalities, whatever that is, to go together with our skincare. And then we also gain better results in the end from our skincare. So I'd love to do another podcast talking about different modalities that can improve it. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And I would even like to dive more into that trauma in the skin. So let's
absolutely
the public. I think that would be incredible. So Amitay, tell everyone where to find you, just quick links, and then obviously I'll put all that in the show notes as well. But just give us a little quick rundown of where to find you.
All right. So obviously younggoose.com, young like the bird, young like the age, bird like goose like the bird, younggoose.com. And we have a really informative Instagram page, which is still managed by Anastasia, who's my partner. She's not letting it go, even though we have like 3 other people on payroll to do that. She's still like there every day, all day. So
I get that.
young_goose_skincare. I highly recommend following us there. I think we're giving out great content, and we also have our own podcast, which we're trying to give all the other we're on other people's podcasts. I talk about skincare. In our podcast, we go over every other modality that would help the skin, right? So that is called Biohacking Beauty. We talk about anything from stem cells to breathing. Okay. So go ahead. In any type of way you consume a podcast, we'll be there. If not, that's a problem. And yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. And I'll be sure to put that up as well, because there is some fantastic information on that podcast. And I'm due to listen to many more of your episodes. I haven't gotten through all of them.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming on, Amitay, and giving me all of your time this morning and night for you. I will definitely be in touch within the next few days to get myself sorted, and then we will in the next few months try and lock in a date to then have a follow-up part 2, which actually I'm really excited about again.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was absolute fun.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I will see you very soon.
All right. Take care. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Amitay. I will just stop that.